Hey guys, this week's podcast guest features Ivy Knight, editor-in-chief of Swallow and host of 86th at the Drake Hotel. Ivy came down, talked about Toronto's restaurant scene, how she got started in the culinary world, and what she thinks of Buffalo's food scene. Let's get to it.
How long have you been coming to Buffalo? Like, I've seen your name. Like, Krista has posted like you judging like Nickel City Chef for a couple of years now. I don't know how long that goes back.
Today was my 4th.
Oh, nice.
Nickel City Chef. So
nice.
I guess it's been 4 years.
Wow.
I think. But I came for Taste of Buffalo. I've come for the Chicken Wing Festival.
I think I judged one of the ones that you were the MC of.
Oh yeah, the burger thing.
Yes.
Yeah, with Brian. He won that, didn't he?
Yeah, he beat Jennifer Boy. Yeah, that was a fun time. Did Krista reach out to you to come down here, or were you kind of already looking at the Buffalo scene? Or
so it's kind of funny. The way it started, like now I have the website called Swallow.
Yeah. But
before Swallow was a website, it was a radio show at the University of Toronto.
Oh, okay.
And it was just a 4-parter. So it was like the people at U of T asked me to do like a 4-part mini series on food for the radio for the summer.
Okay.
So I did Swallow 4 times. And I asked them where their signal went, like who would be listening.
Yeah,
and they said it goes into Western New York. So then I was like, okay, well, I should have somebody on who's from Western New York. Like,
yeah.
You know. So I Googled Buffalo food, I think, and Krista's name was all over the place.
Yeah, she's pretty synonymous with that restaurant scene.
Yeah, so I got in touch with her, and I think we were talking. I said I want to talk to you about like Food Network celebrities, and she's like, "Fucking Bobby Flay is an asshole," and all this stuff. But then when she was on the radio, she didn't swear like that. She was
yes, very proper.
Yeah, she was proper, and that's how it started. And she said, "Do you want to come down and judge?" And I was like, "Okay."
Nice. Mm-hmm. So just that easy.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, I guess we should start at the beginning. You mentioned on our car ride here that you got into the kitchen at 25. Like what made you want to get into the kitchen world, the restaurant world? I mean, what were you doing beforehand where you were not feeling it?
Well, I just kept moving around from job to job. I didn't have any great passion. I mean, I worked at a collection agency. I worked as a server, as a hostess, you know, just kind of bumming around from place to place. And my husband, this was when we were in Vancouver. So my husband is a rowing coach. Okay. And he got a gig as the head coach at the Austin Rowing Club in Texas. So we moved to Texas. And he had a work visa, but I didn't. So I couldn't work. And I was at home, like, just going stir crazy because I didn't know anyone. And so like the only thing I really cared about was cooking, and I was watching Food Network, and I was really just like, you know, I was like, I want to work in a kitchen. I want to see how it goes. Yeah. So I left him in Texas, and went because he knew a restaurant in Kingston, Ontario. Okay. When he was younger, he had worked there as a cook and as a server. So he said, I'll talk to the chef and see if you can they'll take you on for the summer. Yeah. And the chef said yes. So I moved to Kingston for 3 months. Okay. 4 months, I guess, and did their summer season with them. And then went back to Texas and got a job under the table in Texas. And that's how it started. And I loved it. The first kitchen I was in Kingston was called Chez Piggy. Nice. And it's a tiny kitchen. The restaurant's been around for like 25 years or something. It's such a tiny kitchen, and their patio like triples the size of the amount of seats. Yeah. So the summer season is insane. Oh, okay. And it's trial by fire, and basically Carrie's my husband. Basically, his thinking was if she can last more than a day in that hellhole, then this is what she'll want to do. So I lasted, and
was it like the actual food? Were you interested in the I always feel weird saying like the art of cooking food, but like that side of it, or did you enjoy like also the lifestyle of it, or?
Well, I didn't really understand the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Until I got into it. Like, I sort of did a little bit from when I was waitressing. Yeah. But I got fired so quickly whenever I was a hostess because I'm such a bitch. I have no people skills. I can't. So I was meant to be back of house.
Yeah, yeah.
But, so for me, it was about the artistry, and I had all these romantic notions. Yeah. And then you get in and it's like, you know, a grunt in the army or, you know, you're in the ER or something. It's just fucking madness. And I loved that. Like, once I knew what I was doing, and then that, you know, how tight you get with the team because you're being slaughtered together every night. Yeah, yeah. You know, and then the lifestyle of like boozing it up and acting like an idiot. That was so wonderful and appealing. I loved it. So yeah. And I cooked for 10 years. And in the 5th year, I knew that I didn't want to be...
You weren't a lifer?
I knew I wasn't a lifer.
Yeah.
I'd seen enough burnt out lifers who never made it to head chef. Yeah. You know, and...
I mean, did you ever consider going to like school for it, or...
No, so when I was at Chez Piggy, all the people in that crew were learned on the job. They were against culinary school. They're like, it's a waste of money, learn on the job. So I just never bothered to go. But I knew I didn't want to be a head chef. Okay. In year 5, I knew that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have my own restaurant. I never wanted to be a head chef. I wanted to do something. Mm-hmm. And it was after a horrendous service when everything that could go wrong had gone wrong, and I was so pissed off and bitching and complaining, and like, we're closing, and I was furious. And my executive chef, Anthony Walsh, who is the executive chef for Canoe, he basically told me to put a sock in it, and he's like, you're not making it any better by rehashing all the shit that we went through tonight. Like, clam shut up. And he said, you've told me that you're a writer, because I was always writing like short stories and stuff. Okay. He said, why don't you write some stuff about food and about the restaurant scene, because nobody in Toronto who's writing about food has any real experience in kitchens. It's all just like critics and things like that who are more just connoisseurs rather than expats, I guess you could say. Yeah, yeah. So the head food writer in Toronto, and he's still one of the top food writers, is at that time was James Chatto. Okay. So I saw that he was doing a book signing, and I put together a portfolio of 3 food writing things. Like, one was a restaurant review and a memoir-ish thing, and then an ingredient-specific recipe thing. Yeah. And I gave him those. I went to the book signing, and I said, will you look at these and help me, tell me what to do? Yeah. With visions of me, like, being a paid food writer the next day. So he was so lovely. He got back to me the next day and said, yes, you're talented, and I could put you in touch with some editors. Don't quit your day job yet. And, we'll see where it goes. So he put me in touch with some editors, and I started writing for this one website, and they didn't pay. Basically, I wrote for free for three or 4 years. Wow. And I didn't go to journalism school because I was working as a cook and I was too fucking broke. So I didn't go to school for any of the jobs that I've had. But writing for free was like going to school, because my editor was like my professor, you know. Yeah, and I was actually writing stuff and getting public's reaction on it. So yeah, and you were getting good, like, notes, I'm assuming, and things from him, or guidance on the way to, And thankfully that website doesn't exist anymore. So all that shit that I wrote back then is gone, and I don't have to be reminded of it. I sometimes think of that. Like, our website's been up for 5 years now, and I look back at some of our earliest posts and how, like, the whole genesis of our website is that I was a super picky eater, and I decided to just start eating
regularly. Like I wanted to eat everything.
Yeah.
And so like in the early days, like I would get super excited over things now that are like just like I don't understand like why I like basically like had like a huge like orgasm over some horrible meal that we've been there now, and it's like why was I so excited? But yeah, so I've had that thought where I was like I should just delete everything before 2011. but yeah, I mean, so did you have like a focus of what you wanted to write about in food, or just kind of in general? I mean, obviously, like people think of about like restaurant critics, like that's kind of the first thing people think about when they think of food writing. I think, or
yeah, I think that's what my mom thinks I do.
Oh yeah,
pretty much everybody. If I say I'm a food writer, they immediately think you're a restaurant critic.
Yeah.
And I did that for a bit. I had a brunch column in Toronto, the Toronto Star, for 9 months.
Okay.
And at the end of the 9
just brunch?
Just brunch. Once a week, brunch column. And at the end of 9 months, I looked pregnant. Like, I was eating brunch sometimes 3 or 4 times in a weekend.
Did you burn yourself out on enjoying brunch, or do you
No,
still...
it actually turned me into a brunch addict. Because
I didn't know if it was like, because like in the chef world, like working brunch is almost like a negative thing. Like it's considered like, oh, you're working the brunch. I wondered if it was like the parallel with the writing world. If you're like, oh, you have to eat more brunch.
No, there isn't a parallel, because that was a steady job that paid.
Yeah.
So, and you don't get many of those. It's like if you're an actor, and you get like a commercial for tampons. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's like, it pays money. I don't care. Bring on the tampons or whatever. Preparation H is my favorite product. So I didn't give a shit. I was like, I get paid, to do this, and then they gave me the boot after 9 months because they wanted it to be more family friendly, and I don't have children, so. But the funny thing is, the very first piece that I had published in a newspaper was an article for the Globe and Mail called "Brunch is Hell," and it was from my perspective as a cook about why we hate brunch, and why we hate you, the customer, and all the things that you do wrong that piss us off. And then little did I know, years later, I'd be doing a brunch column. But anyways.
That's fantastic. So that ended after 9 years or 9 months. 9 months. I'm sorry, 9 months. And so what was your path after that then, writing wise?
Well, I always have a ton of different gigs on the go, because like that brunch column wouldn't pay enough to just be doing that. Yeah. And in the time that I've been writing and getting paid for it, I've watched the numbers go down and down and down.
Yeah.
And to the point where I don't even write for the papers anymore. I just quit. I was like, I will write for magazines because they still seem to have money, and I'll try to get a book deal, which I did. So now it's like focus on books or magazines, but newspapers, they do everything in house, and the food sections have been cut to the bone. Yeah, so. It's too bad.
How is the current state of food writing in Toronto? I try to read as much as I can, but is it a little bit of a lull right now with the amount of people doing it, or? No,
I think there's a ton of people doing it.
Yeah. Is it more like blogs then? Or?
Yeah, there's a lot of blogs. But we've got our restaurant reviewers, Chris Nuttall-Smith at the Globe and Mail and Amy Pataki at the Toronto Star. They're really popular. Everybody reads their reviews.
Nice.
We've got a lot of food writing happening. I don't know that a lot of people are making any money doing it, though.
I see.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
Yeah, but that's the way it is in all publishing, like across the board.
It seems like journalism in general, it's kind of...
It's tough. Like if I was young and going into journalism school, I'd major in like writing about cars, because the auto section in the paper is huge. Car companies have a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Like I wish I wrote about cars, but I don't even drive, so that wouldn't work.
Yeah, that wouldn't work out. So when did you start Swallow and all this? That's more of a recent thing, or?
Yeah, Swallow was started February 2012, and the reason I started Swallow was that Buffalo is part of the reason I started Swallow, because I couldn't sell a story about Buffalo to save my life. Nobody in Toronto gave a shit. So, and I mean, but it's kind of like, if you're going to write something travel, they either want it more exotic, or it's just, or they want it to be, or if it's not about travel, if it's just about food, they want it to be Toronto specific.
Yeah.
So I was having these great experiences in Buffalo, and I did write a few things, and also having great experiences doing things that nobody wanted the story, and I wanted to have a home where I could put those stories that I wanted to write and get out there.
Yeah.
And publish what I wanted and say what I wanted.
Yeah. And these aren't so much, we're not talking about like food reviews or anything like that, just like general pieces about like your experience somewhere or what you saw and did.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big mix, like sometimes I wrote a piece about what it was like when I was a waitress.
Yeah.
And then the next day I'll have an interview with Martin Short, or a cookbook review, or like a recipe for fried chicken. So it's always a mix.
Just whatever is on your mind, so to say.
Yeah, because I do it on my own. Like, my husband does contribute because he's a writer as well.
Yeah.
And I actually have 2 contributors now who have been giving me a lot of content, which is great.
Nice.
But mostly it's just me.
Yeah.
So it's whatever I feel like writing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Buffalo's like food scene over the last like probably since you've been visiting has kind of been on an upcline, an incline. I don't know.
It's been upclining like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been getting more maybe attention, especially anytime somebody in Toronto talks positively about Buffalo, like we lose our shit. Like, we just love it.
I know. I've seen the numbers on Swallow. I love writing about Buffalo because you people go crazy.
Yeah,
and the numbers go through the roof.
How is like because for me personally, like, I've only really been aware of Toronto's food scene for like the last like 3 years or so. Like, how has that been growing in the time that you've been in the restaurant world and writing about food? Has there been a similar like rise in the quality and diversity of restaurants, or
there's been a huge rise in the amount of restaurants that are opening.
Okay.
We're in a big boom right now.
Yeah.
But when I first started out, Toronto, it was really about fine dining, like high end.
Yeah.
And that's where I cooked. Those were the restaurants I cooked in. And back then, if I had said, I'm going to leave and go open a taco truck, I would have been laughed out of the kitchen. Like, you would get no respect. Everyone would just think you're a complete loser. But now, all these kids that are saying, fuck this, I'm going to go open my own taco truck.
Yeah.
They're making money, they're successful, and it's like this huge movement of DIY, like simple.
Yeah.
Maybe you have one specialty. It's like, we do tacos, we do porchetta, we do subs.
The porchetta company.
Porchetta and Company.
Yeah.
That guy was my sous chef. The last kitchen I worked in, he was my sous chef.
Yeah.
And he was miserable. And he was miserable because he wanted to own his own place. And in Toronto, it's hard.
It's got to be expensive,
It's
right?
so expensive. Like, if you don't have, I don't know.
Some investor or something like that?
Yeah, if you don't have financial backing and you're a working cook, forget, I don't know how they do it. So that's what he was working as a sous chef.
Yeah.
And he just took the leap and opened this tiny little hole in the wall. Mm-hmm. All he sells are porchetta sandwiches.
Yeah, I can't believe that's a business. Like, somebody in Buffalo, like, looking at that, like, that's a business model. I wish like that we could see somebody just do something that.
Well, you will eventually, right?
I hope
you
so.
will.
Yeah.
Because once a city, I think it's like once you reach critical mass, you're already fully loaded on high end fine dining.
Yeah.
And you're already fully loaded on shitty chains and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it's like, okay, now there's room for, these guys to open a little tiny store and just sell banh mi.
Yeah, the banh mi boys.
Banh mi boys. And then Porchetta and Company, he's doing great.
Yeah. it's awesome.
It's wonderful. I love to see it. And I mean, Grand Electric, they're doing tacos.
That's on my wish list. It looks
it's amazing. But they're doing tacos, and they were picked for top 10 best new restaurants in Canada. They made that list.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Actually, 7 of the top 10 best new restaurants in Canada are in Toronto.
Wow.
And in my neighborhood. So I love where I live right now. It's fantastic.
I'm so jealous. I mean, has Toronto always gotten, do you think, a good rap for being a food city? Or is that something that it kind of was maybe undervalued for a while? Exactly. I mean, the biggest thing is that Anthony Bourdain finally went there last year after 10 years of having a show and things like that, and kind of passing it over, and everyone goes to Montreal or Vancouver and things like that. Like, do you think it's getting its proper due now? Toronto is a culinary destination.
It's starting to.
Yeah.
Within our country, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But outside of Toronto, or outside of Canada, sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of. It's starting to get its due, and a lot of that is because of people like Arlene Stein, the woman who does the Terroir Symposium.
Yeah.
And someone like Arlene Stein, she doesn't stay in Toronto and say, come to my thing, come and check it out. She goes all over the world and finds and goes to the chefs. Like, she went to Copenhagen and introduced herself to Renee, and she went to I forget, she went and hooked up with Alessandro from Cook It Raw.
Oh, yeah.
And worked with him, and so she brings these people in. Like, she brought Fergus Henderson to Toronto. He didn't know anything about the city.
Yeah.
And everyone who's come, like international guests who've come, they're like, oh, this is like Tony Bourdain. He was like, yeah, there's great stuff here. This is awesome. The architecture is ugly as shit, but it's, there's great stuff. So, it's starting to get its due.
Yeah, that's good. Because I mean, every time I told you, like, my wish list is at least 100 places long. Like, how do you keep up with?
I don't.
with
I don't.
What's new and upcoming?
I don't even try to, because I don't review restaurants. And I like to try new places, so I always am going to new places, but I don't. I'd have to have a very big budget to be staying on top of this restaurant scene.
Oh, yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other cool thing that you guys that you do is the 86th at the Drake Hotel. And so you worked at the Drake Hotel, right? That was one of your cooking?
That was my last kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you started this 86th night on Mondays? Is that correct?
They wanted to do some Monday night programming that would bring in industry people. Yeah. And I was working in the kitchen, but I had started doing these cooking competitions. You know Kevin Brosh from Iron Chef America?
Yes.
The floor reporter?
Yeah.
So he's a friend of mine. And I said, like, here's the problem that I was having. I was working part-time in a kitchen, and I was writing the rest of the time. Mm-hmm. And because I was writing, I was getting invited to all these media events where, I got to see all these chefs. Yeah. But they were always working. And it's like, I'm seeing all these chefs that I want to hang out with, but they're working the events. Like, I want to have an event that they can come to where I can give them beer and, then we can hang out. Yeah. So that was basically my idea. I think I pitched it better than that, but it was so. Kevin knew all the beer guys, so I was like, Kevin, let's do a night. You get all the beer donated, and I'll get the food donated, and we'll just get all the chefs in the city to come and party. Yeah. So we did that 3 different times. One was a sausage competition. One was a vegetarian sandwiches judged by butchers. Nice. And then there was a lemon curd one. Yeah. I just picked up on that. The vegetarians, nice, by butchers. That's very clever. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. And so the Drake saw that I was doing this, and I was doing it on Monday nights because that's when everybody had the night off. Yeah. And I did the third one. I did was chili and cornbread, and I did it at the Drake, and we packed the place. Nice. on a Monday, and they're like, oh, we need to keep doing this. So I started doing 86 Mondays while I was still in the kitchen, and then have continued. So that was 4 years.
Oh, wow. And you've done it every week since?
Mostly.
Well, yeah. I mean,
like I took one
holidays.
summer off because I was working on a Food Network show and I had to travel. So
oh, really?
Yeah, so we just shut it down for one summer.
What Food Network show is that?
Pitchin' In with Lynn Crawford.
Oh, okay.
So I was on that show, just traveling with the show for one summer.
That sounds pretty fun.
It was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
It's crazy the amount of TV footage that needs to be shot for 22 minutes.
Oh, yeah. That's all just thrown away on the floor.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Insane.
Yeah. But I mean, we kind of have developed like the in night, the Monday bi-weekly thing.
Yeah,
here.
Krista stole that idea from me. She actually emailed me and said, can I just steal the 86th idea and do it here? And I said, of course. Do it. I don't own it. I don't own having an industry night. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
And it's the best thing about it is all these chefs, it's just great seeing them not in their whites, not having to smile and hand over a canapé, and just see them getting loaded and hanging out and swearing and going outside to have a smoke and just having a, chilling.
Yeah.
So when we do food competitions, they're not as structured as Nickel City Chef. They're very low, like there's usually no rules. Like for the pate battle that I do every year, it's just, it can't be vegetarian.
Okay.
And that's really the only rule. I don't care.
That's great.
Just make a non-vegetarian pate.
And that's the only rule.
And make sure you have enough for 150 tasting portions.
Yeah.
And show up. And there's no budget. I don't give them money. They pay for the stuff themselves. They make it themselves and they come and hand it out.
That's
and the
great.
prizes are like cookbooks donated by HarperCollins or bottles of booze, which I'm not supposed to give away, but I do. Actually, the woman who won the salsa battle, she won 3 years in a row. Rosie Earl is her name. She actually lost her title this year.
Jeez.
But last year, when she won for the third time, she was so excited. Her prize was a bottle of tequila, and she opened it and started doing shots with everybody at her table. And I was like, "You totally can't do that. We're going to lose our liquor license." It was hilarious. It was like, hide it, put it in your purse.
Just give her like a canister that she can like sip out of. Like,
yeah,
something less conspicuous.
Buy some tequila from the bar, please. Anyways,
have you seen because what I've noticed is in ours, like there's a lot of people who are meeting that wouldn't have met before. Like connections are being made and things like that. Like, have you noticed that it's been beneficial to the restaurant scene? Like chefs getting to know other chefs, or
or maybe
even
so.
the general, because it's open to the general public too. Right?
It's open to the general public. Here's the thing: when I was a young cook, if I wanted to get another job, I had to basically go and cold call at restaurants because I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I only knew the last head chef and crew that I had worked with, right? So I remember asking one of my chefs, like, can you give me an introduction? Because I'm going to move. Can you give me an introduction to some other restaurants? And it's through, and it's like now, if you come to 86 Mondays, and you're a cook, you can meet all these chefs very informally. Yeah. And it's sort of like a better way to navigate your career path.
Yeah.
So I tell young cooks, I'm like, not only do I give you free beer, but you could quit your job and go somewhere better.
That's awesome.
So that's one thing that I always make sure I've got beer tickets so that, anybody who's a cook, front of house, forget it. Pay for your own drinks, you bastards, rolling in dough while all the cooks are, sipping one beer, and they're the ones who need free beer. So
I like that.
Well, when Anthony Bourdain, when I did his book launch for Cook It Raw, I'm glad I've met him since then, because that was the first time I met him, and I think he thought I was a PR person because I was hosting this event or whatever. But when it was time for him to do the signing, I made an announcement, and like I was in charge of the guest list for that event, and I was very specific. I'm not packing this place with a bunch of media, assholes. I'm packing it with cooks. Because when I was a cook and I read Kitchen Confidential, I was just like, this guy's the greatest writer ever. I love that book. So it's like I want all these cooks to be able to be in the room. Mm-hmm. And so when it was time for him to start the signing, I said, okay, the people who work for a living and barely get paid anything, meaning all the cooks, you guys line up first and he'll sign your books first. Everybody else, you just wait.
That's fantastic.
So it was great. It was great. And he was happy with that because those are his people.
Yeah, exactly. How was like that end of being part of the media, Ben, where you get to meet these like larger than, I mean, because today you mentioned that you went to Noma, and I was watching your video with Renee Redzepi earlier today on your website. Like how is it like meeting these people that are like,
it's fantastic. I mean, that's the best part. You don't get paid much, but you get to meet these people, these amazing chefs and amazing food writers, and the best thing about it, about people that are in this business, is like a chef is a chef no matter what. Mm-hmm. So when I was talking to Renee Redzepi, I was like, where do you go to get shit-faced after service? And he told me. And we went there that night and got really fucking shit-faced.
With Renee Redzepi?
No, he didn't come. No, sorry. He didn't come. Me and Arlene and her husband went.
That's awesome.
But, I haven't met a chef who isn't completely down to earth. They might be egomaniacs or whatever, but in every interview that I've done with like famous chefs and people that are in this industry, it's like they're always salt of the earth.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, being a chef is a trade. It's classified as a trade.
Yeah.
And we sort of forget that. It's like when you're a working chef, you don't spend the whole day artfully laying stuff on a plate. You spend the time like mopping and screaming at children that you're not paying enough. It's grunt work.
Yeah.
It's not glamorous at all.
No, I mean, Food Network and Cooking Channel and all that, they kind of make it seem a little glamorous, I think. Mm-hmm. Like where food culture is right now, I think it's people think maybe a different scenario, or they like kids going into culinary school now kind of think that they're going to get out of there and be these like baller head chefs and like just like have these artistic visions. I don't think they realize the other end of it or whatnot. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I think cooking school is a waste of time. I really do. I think it's a big waste of money.
Yeah.
I would say 98% of the chefs that I worked with over the years, 98% who had gone to school said if they could go back and do it again, they wouldn't have bothered.
Yeah.
Because culinary school is really expensive.
Yeah. And the starting salary of a line cook.
It's a very expensive education.
Yeah.
That you can get for free.
Yeah.
And it's a very expensive education for a career that doesn't pay very well.
Yeah, definitely not at the beginning.
Like I remember working with guys who were like trying to pay their student loans on what we made, and I didn't have a student loan and I was still struggling. It's like, default on your loan, buddy, because you can't afford it.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, in Toronto, where it's maybe not the cheapest place sometimes to live. Yeah. Let's talk about your two new books that you're writing for HarperCollins. So I actually didn't know what they were until you mentioned that they're cookbooks.
Yeah.
On the way here. So how did that happen? How did
that happened? There's a woman in Toronto named Sarah Elton, and she is a journalist with CBC Radio. Okay. And she wrote a book, I think 3 years ago, called Locavore. Okay. And it's like basically her exploring the world's food systems and sort of saying like if you don't get with local, we're all fucked. But she says it in a better way than that. So I ran into her at an event, and she was telling me her book was coming out, and I said, oh, you know what? I need programming for 86th because I always have to have something going on every Monday, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't we do a book launch for you? And she said, sure. And so then HarperCollins, like all the people from HarperCollins came.
Nice.
And that's how I met their head of publicity, Rob Firing. And Rob and I became friends. And I said, I'll host any book launches that you want because people like it. It fits with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I started begging him for Bourdain because they had Bourdain.
Yeah.
He heads up. He's got the Echo imprint, and that's owned by HarperCollins. So yeah, it took a while, but we got Bourdain, and that was amazing. And so with Rob, he said, I want a cookbook from this one specific chef, and I can't say who the chef is because we haven't announced that yet.
Okay.
He said, I want a cookbook from this chef. If you can convince him to do a cookbook with you, then you can write it. And I said, okay, I will. So I convinced him. And I said, I'm not going to ghostwrite it. Like, I'm not doing all this work to not have my name on the cover.
Because Rachel Ray this situation.
Yeah. Because it's a lot of work. And I'm in the middle of it now, and it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, put your name on the cover. I don't care. Just do it. Just do it. Let's do it. And then Rob himself came up with an idea for a cookbook and said, let's do this cookbook together. And both of them got accepted.
Nice.
And both are due in September.
How has that process been? Like, I mean, because with like writing and blog posts, like it's pretty immediate. Like, I mean, the turnover is maybe a week or something like that. Like,
yeah, no, this is very frustrating. There are certain people in my life who are elderly who I hope don't die before the damn things come out on the shelf. Like, Grandma, hold on. My grandmother's 94.
wow.
You know, hold on. And she's fine. She's healthy. She's healthy as a horse. Knock on wood. Yeah, so 2014, September 2014, they'll both be out on shelves.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the process has been the way I'm approaching it is that each chapter is an article.
Okay.
Because I'm used to writing things in that way, right?
Yeah.
So that's, if I think about it as I'm writing an entire book, I'd be too daunted to even type, you know.
Yeah.
And then the book I'm doing with Rob, I'm doing all the recipe testing, so that's been trial by fire.
What actually is recipe testing? Like, are you literally eating and tasting and making sure that the recipe actually tastes good, or
well,
I'm kind of curious on the process of that.
Yeah, well, we're just learning as we go, but basically if you say I'm going to make clam chowder, which I've made 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I don't have a recipe, I just make it, right?
Yeah.
Then I make it and I write down the measurements of everything and then taste it, and if it's good, it goes in the book. And so a lot of things, and this cookbook is like for the home cook. It's not anything fancy. Okay. So we're just trying to find recipes that are quick and easy and healthy. It's got a health slant.
All right.
So yeah, it's just, we think of a wish list of recipes, and then some of them you go and find an actual recipe and make it your own.
Yeah.
You know, because like there isn't somebody out there who owns this carrot cake recipe. Like there's, you know, but if I go into Martha Stewart's website and find a carrot cake recipe and copy it exactly, I can't do that. And as a cook, like somebody who cooked for the amount of time that I did, I don't ever really follow recipes to a T anyways.
Yeah.
I always want to change something up and make it my own.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing, and that's what my husband's doing right now, trying to figure out some... he's doing a lot of the baking testing, because I'm too... I hate baking.
Well, baking and cooking is like... I've always felt cooking is the more artistic, like you can kind of go by the seat of your pants.
Yes.
Like if you want to change something halfway through, like you can just change it all up. Baking's like science. Like
It's precise.
Yeah,
and I mean,
thing.
as a woman in the industry, I was always getting shoved to the pastry
they just
department. Yeah, I mean, that's just where they like to put broads, and I never wanted to be in the pastry department because I don't even really like sweets. I hate the hours of pastry. Like, get up early.
It's like 3 a.m. or some horrible thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I did do pastry for a month, filling in for somebody, and then when she was back, I just said, no, I'm not getting chained to chocolate cake. Forget it. Put me on the hotline.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah.
Not that, and I mean, the people who do pastry, I'm not dissing them at all.
No,
it's
God bless
not
them.
for me.
Yeah.
I don't like having to be precise. I like being able to just riff on anything.
Yeah.
And I also like being able to do this with a pan. Flip, flip, flip. Look at me. Look at the flames. Ha ha.
There is something more badass about that.
Also, if you're on the savory side of the kitchen, you have access to bacon and steaks and all this stuff. And in the pastry department, all you have is like chocolate chips, sprinkles. I would always bribe our pastry chefs, like, I will give you this much bacon if you give me one of your mini cheesecakes.
That's great. That's great working back and forth there. Mm-hmm. So, I guess besides these books they have coming out, I mean, what do you see looking forward to for the rest of the year and so on? I mean, is there anything you kind of want to get into, or are you pretty much all in with these cookbooks? And
yeah, I'd say I'm pretty much all in with these books and 86 and Swallow and my heavy drinking. Pretty much fully. The dance card's full right now.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading those books as soon as they come out.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll do a launch party at Inn.
Yeah.
With Krista and Mike.
Yeah. I have to come up to one of the 86th events. Krista keeps telling me, and I just keep slacking. And I have like a boring 8 to 5 job, so Monday.
Yeah, it's tough. You'd have to really experience it, you'd want to take Tuesday off.
Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah.
I will be doing it soon, so you'll be seeing me up there.
Good.
I figured like the best way to end this would be, because probably a lot of people who are going to be listening to this are Buffalonians, and let's say that they were like me, and when they went to Toronto, they went to the Eaton Center and hung out on Yonge Street the whole time. And really didn't explore what Toronto has to
Yonge
offer.
Street is just the worst.
Yes, it is the worst.
Oh, it's so horrible. When I first moved to Toronto, I went straight to Yonge Street because it's like famous, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like Times Square-ish in its like look and everything.
But I went to Yonge Street and it's like dildos, porno, Burger King. What? It's disgusting. Oh, avoid it at all costs.
Yes, and avoid the Eaton Center, for God's sake.
So, yeah, if you're coming to Toronto, where should you go?
Yeah, like, let's say just a couple of places right now that you think are, like, really cool and, like, really, like, a hip spot that, like, has good food, a good scene. Like, I know it's, like, asking, like, the worst, like, what do you like to eat in Toronto?
I mean, that's what I do. So, let's see. I mentioned Grand Electric.
Yeah.
Amazing. They're open for lunch now. If you go at lunch, there's less of a lineup, so I would advise that. And then just down the street, they opened a new barbecue place, which is rammed constantly. There will be a lineup no matter what, but they do takeout at the barbecue place, so you might want to try that. There is the best place in Chinatown where all the chefs go. The best restaurant in Chinatown is King's Noodle.
King's Noodle. Okay.
It's on Spadina at Dundas.
And what do they have there?
It's like the best wonton soup, duck. It's just all good. It's packed with Chinese people. It's always busy.
A good sign.
Yeah.
Chefs and Chinese people, both of those are great signs.
Yes.
Anytime I go anywhere.
For sure. And then let me see. Yours Truly is a fantastic place. 416 Snack Bar is great. Campagnolo, Porchetta and Company, for sure. Rock Lobster Food Company, they go there for lobster rolls. Edulous, is the best new restaurant in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's a husband and wife. It's the best restaurant experience I've had. Like, it's amazing. And they do a brunch That's, I think it's like $50 prefix.
That's all right.
And it's a set time. I'm not sure what time, but it's like you go in at this time and you're fed all these courses and then it's done.
Wow.
So you can't just walk in. And on Sundays when they do this brunch, all their wines are half off. So it's that's a phenomenal experience. If you can't, you want to go to the best restaurant in Canada, but maybe you can't afford the dinner, go for the brunch. Yeah.
That's a pretty good list.
That's quite a few, I think.
I know, I have some
And
now.
Banh Mi Boys, oh God, so good. I love that place.
I took my brother there, and he's he's starting to become an adventurous eater, and I was like, you're gonna love this. And we got like the pork belly banh mi and the bao sandwiches with the fried chicken. Like, you can't go wrong on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good. Also, Roncesvalles is Little Poland.
Okay.
So if you like pierogies, schnitzel, kielbasa, go make sure you go there. I live close to there, so that's like pierogi heaven.
Nice.
And I'm French Canadian, but growing up, my parents' best friend was Polish, and he taught us how to make pierogies. So they're a very important part of my life.
I think a lot of Buffalo people could say that pierogies are a very important part of their life as well. So that's
good,
awesome.
Good.
I was going to close out, but I guess I have one more thing. How has Toronto been with these new like celebrity chefs kind of opening restaurants? I mean, specifically David Chang opening up Momofuku, like 4 locations, and then Daniel Boulud just opened up Cafe Boulud. It's kind of, I mean, it'll get attention from some people. I didn't know if it's like a good thing or how you felt about it.
I think it's a great thing because, and I'll use Momofuku as an example because I haven't been to Daniel Boulud. That's not in the budget. Are you kidding? No, anyways, so Momofuku, I wasn't really sure how I'd feel about it or how the city would feel about it while we were waiting for it to open.
Because, it's almost like a brand name. Like the Momofuku thing, it's very popular right now.
It is. It's a brand. But since they've been opened, I mean, they're doing an amazing job. The food's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And here's the best thing about it. It's given us the seal of approval with the most powerful chefs in the world.
Yeah. So
that really helped. It's like, oh, David Chang opened in Toronto. Obviously, it's not that bad of a place, right?
Yeah.
So it helps.
Yeah.
Bourdain shot an episode there. It can't be that bad.
Yeah.
So it's more than just Yonge Street. So yeah, David Chang, I'm thrilled that he opened in Toronto, and I love the ramen.
Yeah,
it's
we went
fantastic.
there on our last visit, and it was really good. Like, we had a really good meal. And I was pumped because, I don't go to New York City that often, so.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but nice. Well, Ivy, thank you so much for coming down here. This was really fun, and I'm glad I got to know a little bit more about your story, and and it was fun drinking last night as well. It was a good time always.
Don't remind me. Every time I come to judge Nickel City Chefs, I'm always hungover. And that's Krista's fault.
Well, your performance at judging today did not show that. You were.
Oh, thank God.
You had your A+ game going. So, but thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Donnie.
No problem.
Here's to more Buffalo content on Swallow coming soon.
We will all lose our shit, so please.
I love it when people lose their shit.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you.